With this new Epstein release, I fear it's inevitable that you're going to get into conversation with conservative Christians. You know about the contents of it. And let me go ahead and save you the trouble because this is how they're going to respond. First off, and the easiest default is they're going to blame it on the end times. And they're going to say, well, this is because Jesus is coming back soon. This is the end of days. Then the second way that they're going to respond is by saying that they need to give grace and they need to forgive and they need to not judge that person. And I just want to let you know, you're not crazy if you think that those are cop-out answers. We have to remember that over the course of the last 40 to 50 years, we have been primed to use these answers as defaults, as opposed to actually holding people accountable in a real Christian way. I'm going to point to a couple scriptures. First off, looking at Ecclesiastes 3. There is a time to tear down and there is a time to build. There is a time to embrace and there is a time to refrain. There is a time to be silent and there is a time to speak. There is a time to love and a time to hate, and there is a time for war and there is a time for peace. What we're seeing now in places like Minnesota is them refraining from embracing these ideologies that are dangerous. What we're seeing is a time for war because we are at war with these ideologies that we do not agree with. That's why people are showing up in the hundreds of thousands to protest these things. I also want to point out 1 Corinthians 5, in which Paul talks about a little bit of yeast corrupting the whole dough. So what does he mean by that? He means that once sin has been introduced to the dough, once the yeast has been introduced to the dough, it's chemically changed. You have to throw it away. You can't restore it. And I'm so sick of this. We've been living under this like restoration gospel for so long. Sometimes all of it needs to be thrown away. And you also got to talk about 1 Timothy 5, which says that the elders are supposed to get up and confess their sins before the congregation. This is something that the elders are supposed to do. This is not stuff that is supposed to be swept under the rug. There's been so many times where a pastor has been indicted, convicted, whatever, and they bring him up to the front and they want to pray for him. Yes, that's fine, but that's not biblical. Biblical, he's supposed to get up, he's supposed to confess his sins, and you are supposed to eradicate that yeast from the dough, baby. He got to go, okay? He needs to move on to something else because he lost his chance at leading the flock. We should stop giving these people chance after chance after chance after chance. There's no accountability in that. And when that yeast gets removed from the dough, it needs to be prosecuted to the fullest extent of the law because you give to Caesar what is Caesar's. Let's also look at Jude 1:4 that says, "For certain men whose condemnation was written about long ago have secretly slipped among you. They are godless men who change the grace of our God as a license for immorality." I mean, it's right there. And at this point, it's not just the Christian church. It's like the Christian podcasts. It's the contemporary Christian music. I mean, all of these Christian industries have been corrupted, and people have tried to share their stories, and instead they've been shunned. And it's time to listen to people. It's time to listen to victims. And it's time to hold people accountable because that's what the word says.